What's going on, you guys? It's Rahul here, back again with another video, and today I am here with my final NBA mock draft. And before this video does get started, I do want to say, make sure to check out my podcast if you guys haven't already. The link to it should be in the description below. I will be posting on there weekly, so if you guys want to get more sports content from me, make sure to check it out. And I do want to make a couple of disclaimers. First off, there will be no trades in this mock draft since, I don't really feel like it. Second off, the way I'm going to be making this picks is, it's going to be a mix of who I think the team should take in real life and who I also think the team will take in real life. And then finally, I will only be doing the lottery, so picks 1 through 14. But without further ado, let's get this video started. And with the first overall pick, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham, a point guard out of Oklahoma State. Look, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, alright? Cade Cunningham is the consensus #1 guy for a reason, alright? This is an obvious pick that the Detroit Pistons should not really think too much about, alright? Cade Cunningham is a 6'8 point guard who can play the 2 and the 3 as well, and he's a solid overall player who can score, shoot, pass, handle the rock, and defend very well. Look, I'm not going to spend too much time. Let's move on to the next pick. With the second overall pick, the Houston Rockets select Jalen Green, a shooting guard out of the G League Ignite. Now, this was really between him and Evan Mobley, and I ultimately went with Jalen Green because personally, I think Evan Mobley will need some time to develop, given the fact that he has a skinny frame, and I just don't think the Houston Rockets have the right personnel to help him while he's developing. So I went with Jalen Green, alright? Jalen Green has a ton of upside. He's a fantastic scorer, and he does have shooting woes. Like, he can be really, streaky as a shooter, but he is a really good shot creator and scorer overall, and he has shown the ability to be a good shooter, and he's also shown the ability to play make and be a good defensive player. And I think the Rockets will give him some time, and if they can give him some time, that is going to be awesome, because Jalen Green, the sky is the limit for him, and if he can reach his potential, oh god, man, that's going to be scary. With the third overall pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Evan Mobley, a big man out of USC. The Cavaliers, I think, will probably go best player available here, and apparently there is a report saying that they will take Evan Mobley if he is here. Evan Mobley, he has sky-high potential. He is very versatile. He's versatile on both ends of the court. On offense, he's very mobile, so he can create his own, and he can shoot the ball pretty well, and he can kind of create his own shot, and he's going to be really hard to defend given his speed, compared to average big men. And on defense, his speed is also going to help him a lot because he can switch on to smaller players, and that's going to be, make him a very good defensive player given the fact that he can guard multiple positions rather than just 4s and just 5s. Now, I will say, as I said before, he has a skinny frame, so he will need to put on some muscle if he wants to reach his full potential. And luckily, the Cavaliers do kind of have the personnel to, help him out while he does develop. Jarrett Allen is a pretty big guy, so Mobley can play the 4, and Jarrett Allen, assuming he does come back, can play the 5. And, Jarrett Allen, he can deal with the stronger bigs while Evan Mobley does develop. And if Evan Mobley can reach his full potential, that would be awesome for the Cleveland Cavaliers. With the fourth overall pick, the Toronto Raptors select Jalen Suggs, a point guard out of Gonzaga. This one seems kind of set in stone, and it kind of seems inevitable at this point that Jalen Suggs will go to the Toronto Raptors. With Kyle Lowry most likely leaving, Jalen to Toronto seems like it's kind of inevitable, as I said before. He has really high upside, and I think he can kind of be their franchise player. He's a good passer, he's good on defense, he's a good finisher, he's a fantastic leader, and along with that, I will say, his shooting, it can be kind of streaky. I do have to say that. But if he can improve his shooting, Jalen Suggs is going to be an awesome player, and he will be a great Kyle Lowry replacement. And, the Raptors, they are kind of in a retooling process. And Jalen Suggs, man, he's an awesome player. And if he goes to the Raptors and can reach his full potential, that'll be great for this franchise. With the fifth overall pick, the Orlando Magic select Jonathan Kuminga, a forward out of the G League Ignite. Now, this was a toss-up between him and Scotty Barnes, but ultimately, I went with Kuminga since I think he has the higher upside. He's a fantastic defensive player. Fantastic. Only way to say he is great on defense. He can guard the 1s, he can guard 2s, he can guard 3s, he can guard 4s, and maybe even some 5s. His defense is just absolutely fantastic, alright? His offensive game, I will say, it has questions. Like a lot of good defensive prospects, his offensive game is really not amazing, but he did average 17 points in the G League, and he did take 5 threes a game, and he did average more points and 3-point attempts than Scotty Barnes, and he did that against better competitions, so that that is partially why I went with him rather than Barnes. And I mean, that is kind of promising because if he can improve his shooting, I think he is going to be an absolute cheat code in the NBA. And I do think the Magic will give him the time necessary to develop, to really develop him. And I really do hope they do, because if Jonathan Kuminga goes to Orlando and he does develop, very well, and he does reach his full potential, I mean, the Magic could potentially have a franchise guy. And I mean, him and Jonathan Isaac, that defense, oh God. Watch out, opposing teams. With the 6th overall pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Scotty Barnes, a forward out of Florida State. Scotty Barnes is a great defensive player who can also play make, and he's also good when it comes to finishing at the rim. Now, his shooting is not very good, and he definitely has to improve that. However, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are the perfect place when it comes to development, The Oklahoma City Thunder are 100% going to give him time to develop as a player. And I think that's going to be awesome for him, because if he can, Scotty Barnes is going to be an awesome player. Whenever if they need someone to, really handle the ball and run the offense, Scotty Barnes would be a great option, considering the fact that he actually played point guard at Florida State sometimes. Scotty Barnes, man, he's an amazing player. And if he reaches his full potential and he ends up on the Thunder, a defensive combo of him and Lou Dort would be amazing. And I mean, if he can improve his offense, Scotty Barnes, like Jonathan Kuminga, he's going to be a great player. With the 7th overall pick, the Golden State Warriors select Davion Mitchell, point guard out of Baylor. The Golden State Warriors, in my opinion, they could definitely trade this pick, but assuming they do keep it, Davion Mitchell, I think, is going to be I wouldn't necessarily call it a lock, but there's a very high chance of this happening. Davion Mitchell is a solid all-around guard, and while his potential isn't sky high due to the fact that he's pretty old for a rookie, he's extremely NBA ready, and I think the Warriors want that when it comes to guys they do select, assuming that they do stay put at number 7. The Warriors want to win right now, and Davion Mitchell is like a perfect player for that. And his defense is especially going to be useful, because when Klay Thompson, he's going to be coming back, and I do think he may be a little bit rusty, so Davion Mitchell, he can kind of cover for him. And when Stephen Curry's off the floor, someone like Davion Mitchell will run the offense. That is going to be amazing for the Golden State Warriors. With the 8th overall pick, the Orlando Magic select James Bouknight, a shooting guard out of UConn. James Bouknight is an absolutely amazing scorer. That's really what he's known for, scoring the ball. He will get you buckets. I mean, he's shown the ability to be a good 3-level scorer. However, he's really been mainly known for his athleticism and ability to attack the rim. Now, as an overall player, I will say Bouknight is kind of raw. He has shown the ability to play make and defend and be a pretty good shooter. However, he's still pretty raw in those aspects of those games. But again, I think the Orlando Magic could definitely give him the time needed to develop. And if he does, he's going to be an awesome player for the Orlando Magic. They could definitely, use some help on offense. And I mean, James Bouknight, he is going to definitely help when it comes to scoring. And I know Orlando has a ton of, young guards, but James Bouknight, I mean, none of the guards they have on their roster have the potential that James Bouknight has. Overall, James Bouknight, he is an awesome player. With the 9th overall pick, the Sacramento Kings select Franz Wagner, a forward out of Michigan. Franz Wagner is a really good 3-and-D forward who can also play make, so I mean, there's, a pretty good skill set right there. The Sacramento Kings could really use a versatile player like him. They could use some help they could really just use some help when it comes to defense, and they could use some good 3-and-D wings, and Franz Wagner is a really good, he's a player who can fit that bill. Now, his shot creation definitely needs some work, but if he improves that, Franz Wagner is going to be a very valuable contributor to the Sacramento Kings, and along with that, he is kind of NBA ready, so his development, I mean, it won't take as long for him to develop, and along with that, the Sacramento Kings, they definitely got to try and please De'Aaron Fox, and definitely got to start, being a lot more competitive soon, because if they aren't, then De'Aaron Fox, maybe the guy starts to get a little bit pissed off, and he maybe requests a trade. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I mean, I feel bad for Kings fans, but yeah, Franz Wagner to the Sacramento Kings. With the 10th overall pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Moses Moody, a shooting guard out of Arkansas. Moses Moody is a really good 3-and-D wing who also can create his own shot in the mid-range area, and I think it would be a fantastic fit for the Memphis Grizzlies. He's also kind of NBA ready given the fact that, he has a great skill set. 3-and-D, and I mean, you can never have enough 3-and-D wings in the modern NBA, and he could definitely improve his 3-point shot creation, but Moses Moody is still a really good player, and the fact that he's kind of NBA ready is going to be useful to a win now team like the Memphis Grizzlies. And Moses Moody to the Memphis Grizzlies, I think there's a high chance it really does happen. With the 11th overall pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Kai Jones, a big man out of Texas. The Hornets could really use some help at the center position, considering the fact that Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo are both going to be free agents. Kai Jones has a lot of potential as big man and who can create his own shot, and he's also shown the ability to be a good shooter, and he's also very quick on his feet, so he's a very versatile defensive player who can switch on to smaller players and guard them very well. However, because he has a skinny frame, Kai Jones is a pretty raw player, and along with that, he is a raw shooter, so he will need some time to really develop, and he definitely needs to build some muscle if he wants to reach his full potential. But if he does, Kai Jones could maybe be like kind of a poor man's Evan Mobley. Yeah, I mean, he is kind of a poor man's Evan Mobley, I guess, sort of, but Kai Jones, man, he is a great player. I mean, if he ended up on the Hornets, his athleticism paired with LaMelo Ball's playmaking, oh god, man, that's just highlights waiting to happen. Kai Jones to the Hornets is something I really want to see, and I have him going to the Hornets in my mock draft. With the 12th overall pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Jalen Johnson, a small forward out of Duke. Jalen Johnson is a great point forward who's a good playmaker, scorer, and he's also pretty decent on defense. He has a lot of potential, and I mean, while there are like some concerns about his character apparently, because he left Duke earlier, there are some concerns about his character, Jalen Johnson is still a really good player, and with DeMar DeRozan most likely leaving at some, in free agency this year, the San Antonio Spurs are going to have a big void at the small forward position, and Jalen Johnson could definitely, and fill that role. Now, Jalen, I will say, he is raw as a shooter, and he definitely needs to be more consistent. But if he does become a more consistent shooter, then the San Antonio Spurs can find, a good, franchise building piece. And even if he's not their number one, guy, number one franchise guy down the line, Jalen Johnson could still be a very valuable contributor to the San Antonio Spurs. And with the 13th overall pick, the Indiana Pacers select Corey Kispert, a forward out of Gonzaga. The Pacers are probably looking to win now, and Corey Kispert, he is a perfect player for that. Corey Kispert, he is older than most rookies, so because of that, his ceiling is not astronomically high, but he is very NBA ready. He has a good 3-and-D, skill set, and I mean, you can never have enough 3-and-D wings in the modern NBA, and I think the Indiana Pacers, I think they're fine that he doesn't have an astronomically high ceiling, and honestly, I think they would love Corey Kispert on their team. And with the final pick in this mock draft, the 14th overall pick, the Golden State Warriors select Keon Johnson, a shooting guard out of Tennessee. Keon Johnson is a really good defensive wing, and he's the best player available here. Now, I will say his shooting could definitely use some work, but if he does improve his shooting, Keon Johnson would be a very valuable contributor to this Golden State Warriors team. Now, I think Golden State will probably take the best player available here, and Keon Johnson, he is the best player available. But without further ado, that will be the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It truly means a lot to me. Reminder, hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, as it really helps out the channel. And also, make sure to subscribe if you guys are new and enjoy this type of content, so you don't miss out on any new videos like this. Plus, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and once we hit our goal, I am finally going to do a face reveal. But with that being said, I'm out, you guys.